Welcome to Magical Mindset with Macarena Luz Bianchi, where we explore the magic of mindset, gratitude, and purposeful living. I'm your host, Macarena, and I'm thrilled to have you join me on this journey of wonder, wellness, and wisdom. You can find the episode show notes, your free magical mindset blueprint, and more at express.me/podcast. And here's the show. Hello, lighthearted listeners. In today's episode, we're going to talk to Roberta Weber. She's the Human Differently coach. She's coming to us from Glasgow, Scotland, and she works online all over the world. So that's how we'll be talking. And everybody, welcome Roberta. Hey, Roberta, how are you?
I'm really good, Mac. I am so happy to be here with you. It's very cool. And thank you very much.
We've known each other a long time. We're very lucky in the sense that we've been working together since the pandemic, right?
Pandemic. Yeah. I don't think we quite knew what was there for us when it first started, when we first met.
So Roberta and I met doing a mastery program for a healing modality we both practiced. It was really cool. And it started in January of 2020. And it was great. We were part of a cohort with another wonderful woman, another healer and coach. And next thing you know, the pandemic happens. Surprise! And it changed gears. So I thought it was supposed to be like a couple hours a month of this. Hours or more, we went into emergency mode. But in the process, we got to really know each other and help each other. And it was like a really amazing thing. I think like the best thing I got out of it was, of course, the community it created with you, Roberta, and of course, Brooke. So please introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you, Mac. I am Roberta Weber. And my latest iteration of my name, or my title really, is that I'm a Human Differently coach, meaning that I help people be in their lives really differently. I came to that because I'm not just health anymore. Before it was all about health, but it's also about how they show up in their lives, their relationships, and the sense of why are you even in a body and how that interplays with everything in your life. So that's the angle that I come in at.
Fantastic. We were very inspired by a really cool TED Talk, Why Having Fun is the Secret to a Healthier Life by Catherine Price. And it's so cool. Please listen to it. Of course, we'll have it in the show note and captions. You can get it there. But just to overall, the whole point and the reason we were so inspired by it is because not only do we need to have fun, we see this as a reoccurring theme with our clients, with our coaching clients, our private clients. And she simplified it to playfulness, connection, and flow. That's what creates fun. These concepts apply to a lot of the work we do. So what was it about this TED Talk that touched your heart?
First of all, because you sent it to me, I will always watch what you send to me. And I think because fun is so healing, like we both know it from the work that we've done, particularly in the Body Intuitive, it's really clear how much that brings to us. And so emphasizing that is really important for our clients and for ourselves. Having somebody break it down into the component parts just seemed really cool to me. And I love it. Connection is something so cool, right? Getting in the zone is something we do in our work. And then the playfulness, that's something certainly close to my heart. I'm a bit of a goofball myself. It felt like it was giving me a free rein to go ahead and be all of myself in a way.
Quite fascinating. This reminds me, many years ago, I took a lot of training courses. I wanted to face my fears and I wanted to expand. And I took all this crazy stuff like Enlightened Warrior Camp, all this stuff to face my fears. And it was really amazing. I've done a lot of the work. And in that process, I remember one of the exercises at one point was ask the people close to you how they see you. And it blew me away because at the time, yes, I was a film producer and I had a lot of workaholic tendencies, which is why prioritizing fun is so important for me. And what everybody said was reliable, trustworthy, reliable. You get things done. And I'm like, great, but that's it. I always saw myself as super into lighthearted empowerment, as you all know. And I have a very silly side, a very goofy, silly side. But then I was coming across as just the producer. Oh, And I had to actively change that. I think it was in my late 20s or early 30s where I was like, I have to pay attention to that because I'm coming off so robotic. And I think the reason, I know you've probably seen this with your clients, is this feminine, masculine power. The things that made me a really good producer and a really good at what I do is the ability to be structured and creative. Some people may call that more feminine qualities, more masculine qualities. And when you're a producer, it's extremely creative, but there's so much money on the line, like time, it's hardcore. So that story is your baby and you got to make it happen. And no matter what. So there is a feminine aspect of it. However, the work, especially if you're a workaholic and you can work 24/7 or you think you can, you just work. So I found that I had a really hard time turning that off when I got home. I was in like, go. When I would travel to New York and I was like, this is what's my pace. I'd come back to Miami. Everybody's slowed down. You're walking so fast. You're moving so fast. So I had to really learn how to turn that off. And I see that the feminine qualities, which of course are in me, are very much related to fun. And I had to learn how to be powerful without mimicking what a man would do or what a predominantly masculine person would do. You know what I mean? So how do you see femininity as it relates to fun and the permission to be both of those?
Wow. It's not an angle that I've thought about it, actually, Mac. So let me try and take a moment to dig deep. So the femininity and the fun, to be honest, in lots of ways, I think a little bit like what you're talking about. I see a lot more men having fun than women do. And I think it is because of what you're saying. Women are having to work so hard just to be in a room that once they do that, they're having to take themselves so seriously. And it's really bad for our health. It's bad for our menstrual cycles, for going into menopause. So many women I see coming into menopause and they have adrenal burnout and it's terrible. Like it makes really bad hormonal balance, all of those things. Whereas I think men, it's a lot more freeing for them because it's almost like no matter what they do in some circumstances, they can get away with it. It's going to be okay. And women can't ever make any little bit of mistake. So that's what I see.
That's interesting. I love to hear your take on it. It's interesting because I see men almost suffer silently. So much stress, so much pressure to provide. So it's interesting. Maybe I attract workaholic. So I don't want to see the men in my life having as much fun as they should. So that's fascinating. We all can relate to this. It's not about whether you're a man or a woman. What I'm talking about is as a human, we're both feminine and masculine.
Mm-hmm.
And the feminine powers are sometimes more subtle. Like we might ask more questions instead of sometimes the masculine ones are more direct. So in my situation, making a movie, you have to be super direct most of the time, but you also have to be quite subtle. So in the job, I definitely used both a lot. But when I got home, because of the schedule budgeting, it was very light direction. Now it was so hard to unplug from that and just be the woman and be like the fat tap into the goddess energy because of the momentum. I was like, okay, what needs to get done? Done. And then that's how I discovered that I was a workaholic because at that time, everybody's, oh, you're a workaholic. Everyone's, that's great. And then I'm sure maybe you've seen this in your practice that when people are addicted to anything, whether it's work or substance or anything, can't face something within us. So this is not the workaholic episode, but it is really related to fun. But for me, the bottom line had to do with feelings of abandonment. That's what I was hiding. And because I felt emotionally abandoned, physically abandoned, and actually spiritually abandoned. Those were my atheist years. All of that, I wasn't being myself is the bottom line. I was, for some reason, people at home I could be silly at home, but I couldn't really be silly out in the world. And it's because I was like, and I think it's what you were referring to. I have to be serious or I may not be taken seriously or something like that.
Be let in the room even. Yeah.
Yeah, well, luckily for me, that was never an issue. I'm just maneuvered and whatever. It was never an issue of do I belong here? I never even had those thoughts. Thank God I had the privilege or the ignorance. It doesn't matter. whether you think I belong or not. This is what I'm doing.
Ah,
So prescription was really important to me. And it took a lot. So it sounds like you had a good amount of fun, but I know that as a woman and as a mother having a career, sometimes it's hard to prioritize time.
absolutely. Completely. For prioritizing to actually have fun was very difficult. Particularly, I found it. My kids are now 16, almost 17, and almost 21, of all the things opening up to a space where I could just be playful with them and connected and in flow. It was very hard to make all three of those things come together. I could try and force myself to certain extents, but if you're running a business and you're trying to keep them fed with good, healthy food and get them to their after school things, none of that stuff really lends itself to connectedness, flow, or playfulness. It really doesn't. But I think just circling back to what you were talking about with that idea of being yourself, and actually the fact that you were abandoned, not only by others, but really as much as anything by yourself, abandoning your own spiritual connections, etc. And I think to me, that's where I tend to go with most of my clients. And it's really easy to make it sound super serious, right? But actually, when we get these things aligned in place, then the play, the fun can actually happen from there. In Chinese medicine, we have this saying of if somebody is accepting of their curriculum, what they came into this world to do and to be, and it fits their jing, which is their form, it fits that, and it fits their dreams and their spirit, their shen. So when all of that comes together, we're able to just be at ease. And once we're at ease with ourselves, then being playful, being connected, and being in flow, they all happen. So to me, it's like going a little bit backwards into something that feels really serious and probably doesn't sound very fun at all. But actually, once you get that, it's like a rocket. People can just take off in the land of fun, really.
So cool. Yeah, you brought up this idea of seriousness. And that's something that I had to learn, that even though things are important, most things are not serious. So if we're like putting that lens to things, what's up with that?
But I think for you, when I think about you and your amazing work, what is it that you call it?
The playground of experience. Yes. A lot of these concepts that I talk about came up because I keep seeing like the same patterns with my clients and myself, of course. It helps to understand. So I noticed that most of us look at life way too seriously. But if you take a step back and think of life as a theme park of experience or a playground of experience, I use theme park because then there's a lot more to play with there. And if we're here to just experience it. So it's not about good or bad. It's not about that duality. I think most people are breaking out of that perception of duality, that it has to be one or the other. So it's a playground of experience. You're not here to learn lessons. You're here to expand in your theme park and playground of experience. So it helps to look at life. If we take the theme park analogy, you've got different layers. So most people come in with some wounds. So for example, I hear a lot self-esteem. I do a lot of work with self-esteem, and then maybe they come in with a pattern of forgiveness, right? So in the theme park, they might have their career land. They have their family land. They have their passion projects, expression, creativity lands. And then if the person came in here with a pattern of learning about forgiveness, we talk about how much real estate of your theme park are you giving to this? So if you come in with this pattern, this very challenging pattern of forgiveness, what does that mean? You're going to do things that require forgiveness, and you will experience a lot of things that require forgiveness. So if you see that pattern happening, because we all have these patterns of opportunities of expansion, then it's how much real estate are you giving to this? Yes, it was in the past. And I think a lot of it is, okay, so what part of the theme park needs to be renovated? So we can look at in a playful way the client's life so that it's not so intense. Because of course, you work with a lot of people with some intense trauma. I'm more on the lighthearted, talk about self-esteem. We can do a little bit of health stuff. but I'm more of the confidence booster, the fairy godmother. I'm not a therapist on purpose. So that's where I am in people's journey. I help them clear blocks and help them look at life in a more empowered way. I give them the tools so that they can really manage their life in a much more carefree and lighthearted way.
Yeah. But if we were to bring her version of the world into your theme park where fun is a part of it, it is interesting the idea of having the playfulness in a slightly different way. That might be your creativity, the connection, which might be just everyday things, might be being connected to people at work, the flow. You and I use flow all the time, getting into an aspect of the zone, we call it, right? And that's another piece. But then at the Venn diagram overlap of all of it, in the center, that's where things really zing, according to her work. And it's how, from the theme park, how can we make that? I want to know how to make that part of my theme park bigger. And I want to know how to do that with my clients as well. And some of it is just, have you done any work towards that? Or not even work per se. Have you put any emphasis on it? Are you prioritizing it? Which is one of the things that she talks about, is actually make it a priority every single day, just to have fun.
So you also know, like, the lighthearted living formula is wonder, wellness, wisdom. So the theme park, people who want to be more general and don't want to like Adventureland or whatever, we use like for wonder, wellness, and wisdom. A lot of things overlap, especially like the concepts of gratitude that I talk a lot about, because they're all wonder, wellness, and wisdom, which is fantastic. And most things are, but I find that it helps to compartmentalize, to play with these tools to say, okay, I'm going to put wonder under the creativity, playfulness aspect. And then my home under wellness. Let's say my home life is wellness. And career, vocation can be wisdom, mind area. So we can use those things. But then what she says, the playfulness, connectivity, and flow. So that's the real estate, like what I just said, the wonder, wellness, wisdom, or home, career, and social life, let's say, or personal life, or creative life, or fun. And then the playfulness could be rides in each of those. So the territory, your home life is a territory. So in your home life, you should have activities, events, rides that are for playfulness within that theme, connection, and flow, right? So if we're talking about home specifically, my husband and I like walking. We go for walks with our dogs. That's connection and that's flow. So that hits two of those. And I try to insert some playfulness. And I think the dogs bring that into that, for example. So that's something that if I'm feeling out of sorts and I need to be at ease, take a walk because it's going to cover all of those things.
Offering more than just words, our gift book Sympathy is a beacon of hope and comfort in times of grief. Get yours today at macarenaluzbianchi.com and share the gift of comfort. Sympathy, a poem of solace. Acronym Poetry Gift Series by Macarena Luz Bianchi. Also available in Spanish.
In your family life, what are some of the activities or how do these things play into it?
So that's really cool. And actually, there's something that we did even just last night that makes it sound really salacious, doesn't it? It's not what I'm talking about, people, out of the gutter. For Christmas, because it's not long past Christmas, we got an old school It's moved on massively. It's really old school, but that's what our kids played the most when they were young. And we had so much fun when they were young, just watching them and seeing them do better and everything. And we would play occasionally. I'm terrible at most of these things, but there's something about, because you can use the controller and you don't have to push quite as many buttons and things like that. And so my husband and I were playing it last night, and it was a Lego Star Wars. And I know fun isn't an activity, like it's not that. It is like the three things, but the connectivity that we had, the playfulness that we had, and the flow, because we were there experiencing all of this together. Those three things, I mean, we just had a ball last night. It was so fun. And we did over Christmas with the kids. The kids were so delighted by it. So yeah, that's one of the things that we do for sure.
One of the concepts that Catherine Price discusses is the idea that fun is a feeling and not an activity. And for me, that was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Whoops. It's so true. Fun is a feeling. But and you know this about me, I run fun. In the Enneagram, I'm a 7. I'm an enthusiast. So I can have fun everywhere. I skew too much maybe on the positive side. I can enjoy anything is what my point is. I'm very curious. I will find everything interesting. And sometimes the people around me are not like that. Most of the time, when it's, oh, I'm not feeling it. For me to feel it, I feel very lucky in that sense, but the people around are not. So I skew fun. What's your experience?
I see myself as quite a mix. I don't know about lots of archetypes. I don't know lots about things like astrology, for instance, except I am a Scorpio and I know that's meant to be like very intense. And I don't know how many people would say Scorpios are actually really fun.
We are so much fun. We're in the fun.
Yeah, they just don't know.
If we're secure and we've done some internal work, you're good to go. If we have not, run for your life.
That like sums up what people probably experienced of me in my early 20s, maybe even late 20s. So what I do know are the 5 elements, right? And the 5 elements are, it's a wheel of life from a Chinese medicine perspective. And what I went into healing work with was 5-element acupuncture, and you discover what energetic somebody is. And with that, I am the wood energetic. And this is the energy of springtime. It's coming from the darkness and going into the light. And it's very intense, maybe a bit like Scorpio, because it's just, okay, somebody's given me a seed and I've got to take care of it. And I have to grow it and I have to use the plan and I have to go. But it's also within that, it's got a really vivacious energy. A lot of wood people, if you meet them, they look younger than their years, which I certainly do. And there's a real, I think I'll take it, thanks. There's a real sense of almost like an elfish playfulness, a little bit on a naughty side as well. Yeah. So I find that if I can insert something a bit goofy, I will. Absolutely. And what I find a bit sad, actually, being a Californian, being American here in Britain, is it's not always met with, they just don't really understand me. And even just enthusiasm, like you were talking about, like being a 7 in the Enneagrams. I remember when I was doing my PhD and one of the professors, I was stuck in the tiniest elevator you've ever seen in your life with him. And he said something about, I don't know, just in a really doer way. And I said back, I was just, yeah, no, it's good. It's awesome, as a Californian might do. And he just let rip into me. He was just like, really, really, it's something that causes you to feel awe. Really? Are you sure about that? It was just this sense of just wanting to rip strips off of me. So I'll say something being goofy and then I'll be like, okay, never mind. You're not one of those. You're not my kind.
When I come across people like that, it's like, oh, you want to be gloomy? Okay.
Yeah.
Have fun. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Of course, like, like, how's that working out for you?
Yeah.
But that's tough because it's interesting. It's like a whole cultural thing. And I think as a workaholic, that's part of the issue of feeling bad or that one has to be justified, which is crazy. And that's one of the things that connected was, of course, like workaholics, we understand each other. But I definitely bring in the silliness because someone has to. Sometimes things are intense and maybe not too serious, but definitely get intense. And sometimes they are serious. Like we've all gone through our share of trauma. It's life, right? It's being human. But a lot of those things we talk about, especially like with mindset, is yes, sometimes things are intense, but how we approach them is whether we suffer. So I love that Buddha saying, I don't know if he actually said it, but he gets credited. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. So all this mindset stuff, yes, sometimes when a crisis happens, you have to deal with it, but dealing with it does not equate suffering, right? We don't have to suffer. And I have to remind myself, I can be at ease. One of the things I focus on is being present. So what does that mean? So it's dealing with what's in front of me, not being stuck in the past or too caught up on what's going to happen in the future, and being at ease. So one of the practices is how to be satisfied with what is. So how to have more fun. She has some great comments about that. Reduce distractions, increase connection by actively engaging, increasing playfulness, finding opportunities to rebel. Oh, that's fun. And I feel that in you. Treating fun as an important thing that needs to be prioritized. Do you have anything else to add to that? Or how do you make those your own?
Yeah, that's a great question. I just keep coming back in the video because I've listened to it a few times now and how it was done during the pandemic. And she actually had to say, for connection, you need to go out of the house. You need to look somebody in the eyes, not like in their forehead where the Zoom thingy would be, and just introduce yourself. She had to tell people this is okay to do. Put down your phone and do that. So yeah, it's quite a remarkable thing. And honestly, in a lot of ways, like even the start of 2024, that's what I'm doing more. I'm actually disengaging from that. I've put myself in new situations. I think that's one of the keys, is actually throw yourself a bit in the deep end, do something new, meet new people. That is really important. And we get so much from it. So one of the things I did was I started some voiceover acting classes. So it was very exciting. And me and the two people that were sitting next to me that we tend to work with the most, we have such goofy fun together, just putting on different voices and trying things out and falling over in laughter because you just feel like such an idiot, as we talk about here. And that's been really cool. And also for my clients, though, one of the things I would say is to be physically active. That so many of us are here, we're slumped, we're over a keyboard. Then we relax by slumping on the sofa and watching something. It's very busy for our eyes. It's not moving our body. It's not moving our blood, not moving our chi. All of these things make it a lot harder for us to have fun as well. So that physical component, actually being in your body. So for the workaholics, particularly that special mix of a workaholic who can't make mistakes, who gets very twisted up and their energy is so aligned to them being perfect at everything. And if they're not perfect, how it becomes really devastating. It's like their world is ending. So when I've worked with people before, one of the things I've asked them to do is I've literally, as part of the coaching package, sent them like Play-Doh to work with. And I was just like, I want to see next week the worst creature that you could possibly make with this Play-Doh. I want to see the goofiest, worst thing that you could possibly do. I don't want it to be perfect. I just want you to almost look at this and see how well could I mess this up. And in that, I honestly, that shifted people so massively. It really helped them to break out of this inner and outer sense of a cage of, I've got to do it just right. And that was always really fun. I really love it when I get to bring that in. Those are my thoughts.
I love it. Wow, you said such cool stuff. That's so cool. The physicality, like some people are more kinesthetic than others, but I think everybody benefits from that. And something pretty funny, SNL, there's an old skit with Big Papi, very hilarious thing. He's on the Weekend thing and he's like doing commercials and stuff like that. And his new dating app, it's called Go Outside. Why people go outside? And we quote that all the time. Go outside. It's really hilarious. And I'll find the link and post it because it's really funny. And yeah, going outside and interacting with people is so important. That's one of the things, coming full circle where we started. One of the best things about our experience during 2020 was that because we met each week, we had community. Even though it was on Zoom, at least we had other people within our families to talk to, and we could process a lot of the stuff that was going on. Again, reduce distractions. So putting the phone away, I try to put my phone away at meals. It's a computer. And I was attached to the phone. Oh my God, take breaks. On the weekends, I try to ignore email, ignore it. I try. Increase connection by actively engaging. Absolutely. My husband and I are taking tango lessons. I'm going to my Toastmasters group. Like I try to get out there. And that's one of the reasons I'm working on subscriptions, because I used to do the Grateful meetup with a pandemic. So things like that, I think really help. And finding opportunities to rebel. So that's how I've reframed before. If I was going away and the cleaning lady would be like, oh, you're taking a vacation? I'd be like, it's a work trip. I had to justify it's a work trip. I'm like, what is that? It was always a work trip. It was very rarely vacation. But so what if it was vacation? I think Europe's got that down. We work with a lot of people in Europe and they're like, we're going away for 4 weeks. And my husband and I are like, are we sure it's threatened? That means something. So anyway, finding opportunities to rebel. So yes, people might judge me. Good. I'm going on vacation as an act of rebellion and I'm going to enjoy it. So that's for me some of the things I've done. And then tree fun is important. Absolutely. I think just the reminder, each day is a new day to reset. And I know you've got morning practices, as do I. And while they help anchor, I have to remind my clients all the time, do your metaphysical maintenance so that you could start each day from at least grounded, right? And connected. So then it's going to be easier to handle the onslaught and the storms that come with life. So I think just taking care of yourself. And one of the things that's fun is sunshine. More of the go outside, whatever you can to go outside. So I've done my morning routine. I used to do it inside. Now I do it outside so that I get that morning light.
Yep.
The dog gets to move around. I just read a fantastic book, Built to Move. I'll link it. I wrote a blog post about it. But the bottom line is we have to move. And during the holidays, I made the mistake of going on vacation mode. So I didn't do my morning sun salutations that I do. And I realized, no, it's compulsory. I have to do it. So brushing my teeth or else I get in trouble. I pulled the rib out. I don't know if I told you that. I pulled the rib out. It was crazy, super weird and painful. So I have to do like my morning things all the time. I gotta move. Hint, I'm doing this on a standing desk so that I move and fidget. And I used to be like, oh, I fidget too much. Good. It's good to fidget. Not only am I pretty cat, I'm moving, right? We're not still. This has been awesome. Any closing thoughts?
I think for me, so much of it comes down to becoming aware of and comfortable with. You and I would say why you came into a body. And that might not fit everybody's cosmology, but whatever cosmology works for you. Why are you here? And just really owning that. And once you do that, then it's a lot easier. Decisions make themselves. Like what you're supposed to do in life. I always talk about it. It's the doing that comes from the being. And that just, if you're really uncomfortable with yourself at that level, then you don't have to worry about all of that. And it just frees up so much energy for the fun. So that's what I think is most important for people. And that's why I help them human differently so that they can do that.
Beautifully well said. I love it. Absolutely. I'm also reading, because at the gym, that's what I do. I listen to audiobooks. Reading Mastery by Robert Greene, another phenomenal book where he talks about like why we're here, or he calls it the life task. Your life task is not like a job. Yes, it will guide your career and it'll create career and all those things. It can and it should. But from the workaholic sense, why am I here is not a job. That's not what it is. I'm here to express myself. That's why, again, I use the theme park of experience. I'm helping somebody with their life task, and it has to do with being supportive of people with some positive direction, like emotionally supportive with positive direction. It's interesting. And the idea is once you figure it out, your thing, it's what allows you to express yourself most fully and most honestly. So I think I agree exactly what you said. When you do some of the internal work, when you get to know yourself, and the internal work doesn't have to be heavy. And that's why I have my approach versus other people have different, more intense approaches. That's fine. But it's necessary so that we can be at ease and be satisfied with our life. Thank you, Roberta. It's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to talk to you again. I know we have other subjects to talk about. And it was so fun to talk about. Fun for living well with you. I really appreciate it. And where can our listeners find you?
Oh, Mac, thank you so much for having me. I so adore you and all of your input. You've just been so helpful to me in my journey as I start to understand where my emphasis lies and how I can help and be in the world more and better. Anyway, people can find me at robertaweber.co.uk and make an appointment through that if they want to. I'm in Glasgow in Scotland now. And so your morning sun is not something that I can be guaranteed at all. So I use daylight lamps to help me get through. As a Californian, I definitely need my daylight spectrum lamps around me to help me out.
And it's so wonderful that you figured that out and you give that to yourself. So many times I think we need permission to do what's necessary to set up our environment so we can thrive. So bravo to you. And I adore you. You have also helped me. You're wonderful at what you do. And I'm so glad we did this so people can get to know us better, especially you and the wonderful work you're doing. There's a lot of people in your area, I know this, who need you. So hopefully this will help them find you.
Thank you, honey. So I live and work in Glasgow, and people can see me in person there, but mostly I work online. So I work with people from all over the world, and delightfully so. It's absolutely brilliant connecting with so many people in so many different places.
Bravo. Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, honey.
And see you next time.
I want to thank our sponsors, Spark Social Press, my publisher, for supporting our show and their commitment to spreading joy and empowerment through their magical books. Spark Social Press believes in the power of mindset and the magic of self-expression. Our enchanting children's book series, The Grateful Giraffes, teaches little ones the importance of gratitude and positive thinking by expressing themselves thoughtfully and tenderly, and with illustrations of their delightful adventures and heartwarming lessons. Spark Social Press offers gift books for grown-ups for every occasion, helping you express the perfect words to make your loved ones and colleagues feel seen and treasured with these lighthearted poetry picture books. At Spark Social Press, we believe everyone is glorious and deserves to be fulfilled with more wonder, wellness, and wisdom. That's why our books are designed to spark creativity, uplift spirits, and empower readers of all ages. To discover the joy of self-expression and spread more wonder in your life, visit sparksocialpress.com today. Together with Spark Social Press, let's embrace the magic of mindset one book at a time. Wow, what a journey we've been on together. I hope this episode has left you feeling inspired, empowered, and ready to embrace the magic in your life. I'd love to hear about your experiences and insights. Please tag me on social media using the hashtag Magical Mindset Podcast, or leave me a DM to share your wins, challenges, and aha moments. Let's keep the conversation and the magic flowing beyond this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being a part of this magical community. Until next time, keep shining your light and embracing the wonder of each day. You've got this.